Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Enshrouded. There's already 2 gameplay live streams here in the channel. In the first one, you can see me do a whole bunch of corpse runs because I had no idea what the hell I was doing, and the game was very quick to hand my own ass to me. And in the second one, we did a whole bunch of co-op survival with Wada and Kagarin, who are 2 friends of mine, because I do believe that this game really shines when it comes to multiplayer. Now, before we begin, it is important to mention I did receive a copy of this game from Evolve PR on behalf of Keen, who are the people who developed the game, so that I could check it out, tell you guys my opinions on it, and they were kind enough to include 2 keys for my 2 friends so that we could all go ahead and test the game out and put it through its paces. Now, not only did I play on those 2 live streams, I also put in a considerably more amount of game time so that I could explore the different systems and stuff like that, and I figured that I would do a video telling you guys my opinions now that I have quite a few more hours under my belt. We're talking a little bit north of 23 hours at this point, so I have a pretty good idea of what to expect from the game. Now, usually I don't tend to play a whole lot of survival games. This is not really a genre that I tend to dabble in that much. Main reasoning is I just don't like boring things like having to manage whether or not, oh, your character is thirsty, you better drink some water, you're gonna die. Your character is hungry, you better eat some food, you're gonna die. Because a lot of survival games, I feel, just like really exaggerate on those systems, and it kind of like made me shy away from them, because I do appreciate elements like building stuff and engaging in combat and even, you know, co-op survival and all that. I like that. I just don't like the minutia of some of the tasks, and I wasn't even considering playing this game that much, but after Fightin' Cowboy convinced me to try out Palworld and me actually enjoying that, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll give the survival genre another try. And I'm actually happy I did, because Enshrouded is actually a pretty good game. It is still, however, in early access, so do keep that in mind. This is not a finished product. This is a game that hopefully the developers will continue to build upon, and I do have to say I feel like the foundation is fairly solid. So this is a survival game, but it doesn't necessarily have a lot of the things that I usually don't like about survival games. So let's talk about it. Right now, I am playing using a controller. This game has full controller support, even though if you're using a PlayStation controller, you might run into a couple of snags, but I was able to figure it out super fast in the settings, so just tweak around the settings a little bit and you should be golden. So I guess one of the first things that we need to talk about is obviously the visuals, because that's one of the things that people are always going to focus on. Now, initially, the game did have a couple of problems with my AMD GPU, and, you know, I suffered through that a little bit. But since then, I've actually noticed that there's been huge improvements. They've patched the game, and I've also tweaked the settings around a little bit. Now, if you do have an AMD GPU, or maybe even an NVIDIA GPUs, you might want to check out the settings that I'm using in case you were struggling before. So we're going to go into the graphics settings here. So I am running the game at native resolution, but I am scaling the resolution down to 1440p. The reasoning is at 4K, it's just way too demanding. So I figured, no, let's just keep it at 1440p, because I always prefer a better frame rate over like prettier visuals, because it's just more playable game. So we're doing anti-aliasing FSR2, ultra quality on FSR2, texture resolutions max, lowered the shadows a little bit from max quality to quality. This, I think, might be one of the biggest offenders when it comes to performance, contact shadows. So I turned that off, and the game has actually been running so much better ever since I did that. I lowered a little bit on indirect lighting. You guys can see the settings. You can pause the video if you want to. Here's the settings that I'm using, and it is running pretty smoothly on my 6900 XT. And it actually looks pretty good to boot, at least in my opinion. I like the art style that they're going for. I think the game looks nice. I think the character models also look nice, even though I wish that we'd see some more customization in terms of the character creator, because the character creator was fairly basic. Like, one of the things that I want to do is change the height of my dude. I think that would be cool. But yeah, I would like them to work on the character creator a little bit more. That's not to say that it's a bad character creator. It's actually quite all right. Anyway, this is the beginning area that we're in here. Like I said, I think visually, game looks nice. Animations look nice. All of that jazz. So what are we supposed to be doing? So they're going to be giving you a tutorial and all of that, but we're a lot more further in than what the tutorial tells you. So we already have a glider. So I can just go ahead, glide on down here, and I can show you guys the starter area. So as you go through the tutorial, eventually the game is going to bring you to this area where it expects you to go ahead and start building a base. I don't really have a base in here because usually when it comes to games where I'm building things, I don't like building exactly where the developers tell me. No, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to go build someplace else. But the idea is the same thing that you have in other survival games. So you run around, you're going to very quickly be able to build tools, and then you can, you know, just chop a tree down. As you chop the tree, you're going to get wood logs. Actually, the volume's a little bit on the loud side here. Sorry, let me just lower that so that we don't completely burst your eardrums. But yeah, you're going to go ahead and you're going to chop trees down. You're going to be able to collect these wooden logs, and then you'll be able to build things with them. There's this whole crafting system. You can build a ton of stuff. The crafting system, I mean, the crafting UI is actually a little bit convoluted. I'm going to get into a little bit more of that further ahead in the video, but just be aware that you have your traditional stuff, and then depending on the things that you break down, you're going to get different materials. So if I break this, I'm going to get stone. You can also just straight up dig into the ground, because this is a voxel game. So for those of you that are wondering, man, this performance in this game, I'm having problems with, maybe you have like an older GPU or something like that. The main reason why you might be having problems is because this game uses voxel technology. And what does that mean? It means that I can just like straight up dig a hole into the ground. And do keep in mind, while you guys might think, oh, I've seen a lot of games that do this, it's like doing this in a multiplayer setting is something that is going to be incredibly demanding. Like, look at this. You can just like start digging holes. You can do all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, I dug a hole and went straight up a mountain because I wanted to go to the top of a mountain. So these are things that you can go and do. You can gather resources. You can also just gather some of the things like this, which just lets you go ahead and pick up like some twigs and stuff. And all of these are going to feed back into the game's crafting system, right? So let's say, okay, we craft the thing, and now I have a base. Show me what the base and the building and the stuff looks like. Very well. I'm going to take you guys over to where my base is. You guys have already seen the beginning of the game there. So we are going to go here. This is the mountain that I climbed. And make no mistake, this is a tall-ass mountain. Like, it took me quite a few hours. This is one of the reasons why I didn't stream yesterday, because I was like, I want to go and do something that is going to be boring. It's not going to be interesting for the stream to watch. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it off stream so that people can enjoy the results of my labor later. So as you can see, we went all the way to the top of this mountain, which is pretty tall. It's actually relatively central when it comes to the map itself. You guys can see it right here, right? Considering all the things that I've done, it's relatively central to my location. But the main draw for me was that this is just a tall-ass mountain. And as far as I could tell, there was no way to organically climb the mountain. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to dig. So I straight up grabbed the pickaxe, this tool that I was using to dig holes in the ground, and I just dug, but straight up into the mountain. And then I established a base here, because you can establish a base anywhere. All it takes is for you to gather 5 rocks. And when you gather 5 rocks, you can craft this thing, which is an altar. And then once you get the altar, you can just like start working around and do whatever you want. Now, a really cool thing about base building in this game, which initially to me I actually found off-putting because, my God, there's so many things. I'm like super overwhelmed. I usually like more simple things that I can almost put together like a Lego. But once you get used to how you do buildings in this game, you can kind of see the minutia that I went to with this little fort or keep or whatever you want to call it. Like, I made those towers up top, which are not like super linear because, for instance, if we go into the building side here, you get this construction hammer. You get this thing very early on, and you can do materials of all kinds. As you can see, this would make a wall, and then you can flip it around. You can do whatever. The way that you look at this, you're like, okay, so how do you go ahead and you do the fine tuning of stuff? Well, if you actually press on R1, it is going to show you all of these different things. It goes right down to the point where you can put in one block of one thing at a time if you really want to. Now, I didn't do that on any of these. I just used smaller blocks and placed them in weird ways. And because of the game using voxel technology, it kind of meshes everything together in a way that looks all right. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm the biggest architect or, you know, God's gift to building castles or whatever, but I think this looks pretty friggin' good. All right, I think this looks nice. And if you go inside, you can actually see we also have wooden interiors because I wanted to have a bit of a contrast between the materials, and it just looks believable almost, right? And then if you come all the way to the top, I made this into like a traditional castle tower type of situation with a little bit of thing here. So if we were being attacked, maybe I could make this a little bit tall. But the idea is, you know, very much like castles. You can use the little ledges as cover and you can shoot arrows through there and all that. I like building in this game. Let's just put it like that, okay? I think you guys get the idea. It's pretty fun. So there's building, there's crafting, there's all these elements to it that you will usually have in a Survivor game. But another thing that you have to do besides just collecting resources, you have to collect people. So this game takes place almost in a post-apocalyptic medieval scenario where there was this thing called the Elixir. People started drinking it, and then a whole bunch of people started dying. I haven't really paid that much attention to the story, to be completely honest. I'm not playing the game for the story. And the quests, there's no real voice acting or anything like that. So usually I just go through the quests. I'm like, yep, accept quest, accept quest. So I have a big backlog of quests. This game does have quests that will take you throughout the different locations in the map. So, and it never seems to run out of quests. From the 20 plus hours that I've played so far, there's always a new quest. And on top of that, right, even as you're doing quests, you're going to start making objectives for yourself. So one of the things that me and my friend Wada wanted to do as fast as possible was get this blue box. And you guys, what's so special about this blue box? You see, this game wants you to experience that progression wherein you have to fiddle around with your inventory very early on into the game. And it's really annoying. As you can see, like, you have very limited inventory. There's no weight system, so the only thing that really limits you is the space in your inventory. But the stacks are relatively small, so if you're picking up stone, you can only have 50 stacks of stone. So, you know, you're going to have to fiddle with the inventory. And one of the things that bothered me is, like, particularly because I just came from Palworld, and this is going to be a reference point for a lot of people. In Palworld, you put a box down, and whatever materials you have in that box, or you can put like 5 boxes down, and it doesn't matter where you put the materials, just put everything wherever. And then when you go to your crafting stations, the materials are going to be there. In this game, it doesn't work like that. So early on, it is an absolute nightmare to manage your inventory because it is extremely limited. I know that later on you're going to have something that you're going to be able to put in here, which is a backpack extension. That will probably improve things a little bit. But early on, you're going to have to come in here and, like, say for instance, right, you're going to come over here and you're like, okay, I want to craft metal sheets. Okay, I got to go find charcoal and metal scraps. But you can't just get charcoal. You have to go here and you have to use this to make the charcoal. So you're going to need wood, logs, and dirt. So you need to go get wood, logs, and dirt, put it here. After 5 minutes, you're going to get 15 charcoal. And then after that, you're going to come in here and then you're going to be, you know, using that charcoal together with metal scraps. And that's going to make you metal sheets. And then after you get your metal sheets, you can go talk to the blacksmith, which I already rescued. And then you can start working on weapons like shields and wards and one-handed melee weapons and so on and so forth. So you get the idea. The beginning crafting portion is going to be annoying, but once you get one of these bad boys, which unlocks once you get the carpenter, then things are going to get a little bit better. I am, however, getting a little bit ahead of myself. Like I mentioned, you're expected to save people. How does that work? If you go into the world very early on, they're going to give you a quest to go and save the blacksmith, which I don't remember exactly where that was. I think it was here. No, this is the hunter. So is this the blacksmith? Yeah. So very early in the game, they're going to send you here, Ancient Vault Blacksmith. And then after you save the blacksmith from here, you speak with the blacksmith. He's going to give you a quest to go rescue, who was that we rescue second? Probably the farmer or the alchemist. And then you're going to go in here and you're going to rescue the alchemist. Basically, they're going to give you all these quests to go rescue all these people. And these are going to be one of the things that you're going to want to prioritize, because the more people you rescue, the more things become available to you. Like I mentioned, for instance, the very special blue box. Once you rescue the carpenter, you can get that. Once you rescue the blacksmith, you can get armor, which is the armor set that I'm using, and Bob's your uncle. So you're going to build out your stuff. You're going to craft pretty much like you would expect from any crafting game. And you're going to have a base, and you're going to be able to put more stuff around it, because the whole thing is built around this, which is your flame altar. Your flame altar has like a limited reach, which I believe should be visible if we equip this. Yeah, see, this is the reach of my base right now. But you can increase it, you can upgrade it, and that is going to give you access to a whole bunch more stuff. So if we actually go into the flame altar real quick, I can also tell you guys how that works. So in the Flame Altar, you're going to be able to reset skill points. More on that in just a little bit. You're going to be able to upgrade the altar. This extends the building range that you're able to build on, which, to be honest, in this area, I don't really need that much building range. Like, I'm pretty happy with this keep that we got here. And then you can strengthen the flame, which gains global benefits. So, for instance, once you strengthen the flame, you're going to be able to have 6 altars instead of 4. This means you can have 6 base locations. The reason why this is important is because base locations also act like teleports. So you'll want to place them in strategic spots. As a matter of fact, building a base is super easy so long as you have room for altar activation. So you can just build a base anywhere. So say you're exploring the world, just build a base. If you need to like go back to refresh your consumables or something like that, just build a base and then come back, and then you can delete the other base later. So that's also very convenient. And doing this stuff also increases your time into Shroud, which is another mechanic that we'll explain, but it is also very important. You definitely want to have more time into Shroud. Increases your character stat bonuses. So obviously your objective is going to be to upgrade these flame altars as much as you can as well in order to progress. So now that you've seen the building, survival, all of that stuff, let's talk about the food elements, which, you know, usually in survival games are expected, oh, I gotta drink, I gotta eat, I gotta all of that stuff. How does this game tackle that aspect? It's fantastic because nothing really super negative happens if you don't have your character eat. You're not gonna die, you're not gonna start taking damage. So food works more like a buff, which, as people have told me in the past, this is kind of the same way that it works on Valheim. I never played Valheim, but I have friends who've played and they've told me, oh yeah, it works like Valheim, where food just works as a buff instead of you having to actually constantly consume food just to survive. And in this game, the way that it works, if you look to the top left-hand side, you'll notice that there's like 3 empty orbs, right? Those empty orbs are the food buffs that you're allowed to have. So right now I can have 3 food buffs. You can also do cooking. So if you can see, we have a fireplace here and we can cook. I actually save a little couple bits of corn to cook. So you just hold the button and then you release it when it's done. See, when it does that little sizzling sound, it means that it's just about right. You don't want to hold it too long because I believe that that's going to ruin the food. And I really don't want to waste my resources right now. So we're not going to do that. But, you know, this is how you kind of like do a little bit of cooking. I wish that they would automate some of, not automate, but like, I wish I could craft more than just one piece of food at a given time, because it does get a little bit tenuous. Maybe that's something that unlocks a little bit later. But, you know, you are going to want to craft some food. And since we have 3 buffs, one of those buffs is going to be water, because water increases your stamina regen. The other buff is going to be for strength, which is going to increase my damage, and the other buff is going to be for health, which is going to increase my health pool, which you'll probably see that my health pool is pretty beefy already. The reasoning behind that is because I was building my character up as a tank, which is something that you can do in this game, and it's really cool. So because it's nighttime right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sleep, because that's going to move the nighttime forward. But I just wanted to show you guys how dark it gets at nighttime. Like, just look at this. It's just pitch black. So if you're planning on venturing out at night, you definitely want to have a torch. And even then, torch doesn't really illuminate that much. Just the immediate, area around you. Not to mention that you can't hold a torch and fight, because you're expected to fight using your weapon. So you need to like pull out the torch, see a little bit, fight. So nighttime is going to be very, very hard. I believe they'll probably give you like a lantern or something at some point. And you can also just throw your torch if you want to, and that you'll have a little bit of source of light in the ground, and you can still fight around it. So, that's another thing that you can do. Now, you do get, very early on, you're going to craft this thing. This is one of the first things you're going to craft, which is your workbench. Whenever you interact with the workbench, it fixes up all of your gear. Everything that you have instantly gets fixed up, which is important so that you're not wasting materials crafting new gear because your old gear broke. Just touch this, fixes it up. There's also going to be locations out in the world where you will be able to fix your equipment. So let's go ahead, sleep real quick. What sleep does is it increases the speed of nighttime by 60 times. So it just goes by super fast, as opposed to instantly fast forwarding the game. Just in case you want to, just move it along a little bit, you can do that. Now, If you pay attention here out in the world, there's going to be several structures. All of these structures will have some type of purpose. You'll be able to unlock things in them. And then there are these big towers that I wanted to see if I could see one. Yeah, you see like that tower over there in the distance? Directly above my character's helmet. That tower right there. That is going to be a teleport point, just like that one is also a teleport point. So if you actually run up to those towers, go up to the very top of them, you're going to unlock teleport points throughout the map. The map is pretty extensive, as you can see, so there's a lot to explore. There's a lot of stuff to do. The thing to me is, when it comes to questing in this game, there's just not a whole lot to it. It's just like, come over here, do one thing, boom, quest complete. It's not super impactful. The most impactful quests are going to be whenever you save the people, because that's going to give you a bunch of new things. But, you know, anyway, like I said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to drink some water. That's going to give us some more stamina. We're going to eat some corn. That is going to give us some more damage. We're going to eat some grilled game. And as you can see, all of these buffs have a timer associated with them. And so as that timer runs out, you're going to be expected to eat again, and, you know, drink again and all of that stuff if you want to maintain the buffs. But like I said, the good part of this is that there's no real negative aspects. There's only positive aspects, which I like. I don't like it when characters are like, oh, I'm starving and I'm dying and this happens every 30 seconds and because it's a survival game. I'm like, bro, it's just chores, okay? But I understand that people like that type of stuff. That's fine. That's not me, and that's also not this game either, which is a good thing, in my opinion. But now that we've done that, let's actually go ahead and do some combat real quick so that you guys actually get to experience that. So we're going to go to one of those towers that I've mentioned, which is this one. This is one of the towers that I've already unlocked. And that's going to put us at a tower. And since we already have a glider, we are going to be able to basically glide from the tower. So these act as really good vantage points, because from here you can just glide to any location that you want. And gliding is a ton of fun. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to an area that has some slightly lower level enemies that I can just like beat the crap out of, because my character is essentially built to be a tank, which is very much a multiplayer role. So when I'm by myself, I'm going to be a little bit weaker. And that is one of the things that I really like about this game, not being weaker, but being able to take on roles. So if we actually look over here, there's a skill tree, which gives you all of these different archetypes. You don't really have a class, so you can build any way that you want. So as you can see, I've built further towards the tank, which gives me access to a node called Arch Nemesis. So whenever an ally draws the attention of an enemy, you draw twice as much. So what does this mean? This means that basically, because I also have Nemesis, which is whenever an ally draws the attention of an enemy, you draw it in equal measures. So long as I'm close to my allies, if they attack something, I'm always going to be the aggro target. Which, as you can imagine, in a single-player situation, not a particularly useful skill. And considering how deep into the tree it is, that means that my character is not very effective at playing solo, but goddamn, I'm a beast when I'm together with my friends, because they will just, you know, they'll be attacking from range, and I will be giving them the back of the monsters, because attacking monsters from behind is going to give you additional damage. So whenever they're with me, we're super powerful because of that. I don't know if the game is balanced around multiplayer or not. I haven't really done extensive testing on that. Not to mention that balance in an early access game is really not something that concerns me too much. But as you can see, there's a bunch of different archetypes that you can do. And just because I dove into tanking doesn't mean that I can't dive into spellcasting, which I can. And here's an interesting thing too. Technically speaking, you can make a character that almost works like a paladin, where you can do this and you have all of these points into a taunt, and then you can come down into this battle mage tree, because there's an aura in here, the water aura, where all players within 15 meters regenerate 1 health point per second for every point of your intelligence. Now, if you look at my character, he's probably not going to be too smart because he's a fighter, he's a tank. But I still have exactly 1 intelligence. Yep, that's pretty miserable. So basically, people would be regenerating 1 health point per second while they were next to me. It's still a little bit of regen, but you know, if I was to dive into that skill tree, I'm going to be getting intelligence points. See, that's another intelligence point. That's another intelligence point. Health gain from healing spells be increased by 10%, so that's more. So you could basically make a paladin type character that takes aggro and heals your party. You can also go straight on healer. You can go into a wizard, which is a more offensive spellcaster, obviously. Trickster, which, you know, I'm assuming is going to be some type of illusion magician or whatever. You have assassin with shell shock for explosives. You have ranger. I believe these even have like summons in some of these. I believe there's like, yeah, because there's Beastmaster. So Beastmaster problem, I know that my friend was telling me that there's like some summons that you can have on here, but I haven't explored this all that much. Then there's Survivor, which also gives you other things like you can get double jump, which is something that I'm considering getting at some point as well. You can get bash for shield bashing. You can go more into two-handed specialization. You can there's no dual wielding yet in the game as far as I'm aware, so rip. But you can get stuff that improves your fighting capabilities with one-handed weapons. So there's a lot of depth to this tree, even though it's a fairly simple tree. There's a lot of mixing and matching that you can do to come up with your own archetype should you choose to do so, which is really cool. It's a really fun aspect of progression when it comes to Enshrouded. So now let's go ahead and dive into combat a little bit, because we've been talking about 25 minutes about all the things you can do in the game, and we still haven't showed you guys what the combat is like. The combat is fairly simplistic. You have one button to attack, which I believe will be a left mouse button if you're mouse and keyboard. It is going to be the square button or X if you are playing on PlayStation or Xbox controllers. And you can also block. And yeah, it's kind of like simple, but there's also spell casting, which I don't actually know exactly how it works because I haven't done spell casting. There's also bow, which for some reason my bow keeps getting unequipped, which is very frustrating. But you can do bow combat, so you can like shoot stuff, and the convenient aspect of it is, even if you're someone who's playing melee, you can just press L2, he draws the bow, and then back to melee. So that's nice. Let's go ahead, collect a couple of these things. We're coming up on a little settlement that's over here. I forgot to tell you guys about the rested buff, which is as you upgrade your, your base and stuff, when you're inside your base, there are certain things that dictate the level of comfort, and that gives you a rested buff that also increases your stamina and so on and so forth. So as you can see, this is a little bit of a camp. You'll be able to collect resources here. And there's going to be enemies that are going to come at you, like this dude. Let me see if I can get a parry to show you guys. Come on. That's a parry right there. You see there's a gray gauge below his health? That's his stun gauge. So if you fill that up, the enemy's going to get stunned. Let me see if I can stun him. Oh, damn it. It's recovering. Go on. Attack me again. Don't wait to recover. Attack me. There, see, now he's stunned and I get to do a merciless attack. Now, the reason I got to do that merciless attack is because I went and I got that skill, which is here. Perform merciless attack by pressing triangle to deal massive damage to an enemy that's been overpowered. Okay, we have a crossbow dude over here. I'm going to go ahead and take care of him too. When it comes to certain enemies, you can just go ahead and mash the attack button and you'll be fine. We have another dude over there up top. Want to make sure we get him. You got to be careful about your stamina, because you don't want to run out of stamina, because stamina, is also for blocking. Attacking does not consume... Oh, did he jump down? Okay, well, I'm just going to steal your loot then. Oh, he's got an explosive ball. Now, I also skilled into jump attack, so I can do that jump attack. You're going to loot him. You can also use stealth if you want to, so there should be some brushes somewhere. I usually don't use stealth, but there should be like brushes, and there's even sneak attacks. So you have a sneak attack, it will deal 10 times the damage to unaware enemies. So if you want to play more stealthily, you can, but I don't really do that. I just run in, beat the crap out of everybody. So usually when you come into these camps, they'll sometimes have this thing, which will also let you repair your equipment, which is very useful because some stuff breaks fairly easy. The game does have a lock-on system if you're playing with controller, and I think There's a lock-on system for PC as well, for mouse and keyboard as well. Let me go ahead and bandage up a little bit. Bandage gives you like a regen effect. You also have healing potions if you want to do that. That was a parry right there. There it is. It's another dude dead. Now, if you really want to take your time, which I currently don't need, but at the beginning of the game you'll probably want to, you'll want to explore every little aspect of this. There's going to be houses. You'll be able to go inside the house, and you'll be able to loot it clean. Sometimes there'll also be like cellars and basements and whatnot. Does this one have one? No, it doesn't look like this one has one. But a lot of the houses will also have like cellars, which sometimes can have little mini dungeons inside them too, where you'll be able to get additional loot and whatnot. So it's just a matter of exploring if you want to. But like I said, right now I don't really need a lot of that. But there will be multiple structures that you can go in. And here's another thing. You can get rested buffs by just like resting in different locations. Also, we ran out of, speaking of buffs, we ran out of those. So let me go ahead and do this. Some water. You can control those on the top left-hand side, which is why I knew that I was running out of my buffs. But yeah, you might want to explore this whole place. Sometimes you might even want to break stuff because you'll find loot inside of barrels and stuff. So there's a huge scavenging aspect to the game as well, which is normal in a survival game, right? So let's talk a little bit about the Shroud, because the name of the game is Enshrouded. And so sometimes the game will require you to go into the Shroud, which you can see over there. So the Shroud, you're always going to be limited in the amount of time that you... Well, I say always. I don't know how it's going to work later in the game. But in the beginning, you're going to be limited. As you can see, it now says Enshrouded, and there's a counter on the top of the screen. So you have a limited amount of time that you can stay here. When that counter runs out, you will instantly die. It's just that simple. You instantly get dead. Now, you will find different enemies in here, and you will also find different resources in here. I was trying to see if I could catch some, because me and my friend, we actually need... Yeah, like this. We need this Shroud liquid stuff. So as you can see, this enemy is level 9. For reference, I believe my character is either level 10 or 11. Let me actually see real quick. We are level 10. So this is why we're able to just beat them up and whatnot. Sometimes you'll have quest objectives inside the Shroud. You got to be careful with these things. These little dudes are annoying as hell. Let's go ahead and heal up a little bit. Alright. Like, as you can see, there's going to be a structure here, and there's probably a quest associated with this structure. I think me and my friend actually did this quest the other day. I think this is where we came to save somebody. Ooh, okay, this is actually looking kind of dangerous. Like, what's happening in this area of the map? Oh, there's an Elixir well. Nice. I'll show you guys what the Elixir well situation's like. Oh, crap. This is when me and my friends died a whole bunch of times. This is actually really bad. I better not die here. But sometimes you'll be, you'll be given objectives to come and take care of these Elixir wells. They regenerate after a certain amount of time. So you got to be careful about that. But when you clear the Elixir well, this whole area will actually be cleared of Shroud. And it'll let you, like, just loot and explore. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to see if I can take care of this. There's going to be enemies that are going to pop up, for sure. Yep, we have a couple of enemies here. Oh, this one has a boss! Wasn't expecting that. We're going to have to dodge roll for this one. Because you're not going to block that. Okay, we're gonna get rid of this guy. Now, do understand that the first time I did this, me and my friends were like level 7. That's why I'm being so careful, because I'm used to this dude hitting like a truck. And there's archers in the back hitting me too. Ooh! Okay, we got him. Well, there's the archer. I thought he was, like, out of range from us. Luckily, he wasn't. Okay, now that we've got his ass, I'm gonna loot him. I think this was his corpse, right? Nice. We got his head. We got a new forest longbow, too. Anyway, now that we've gotten that, you're supposed to bring out a axe, because you want a felling axe, because this is almost like chopping down a tree. So you're gonna chop this sucker down. And as you can see, our timer is now resetting. We've cleared this specific area from Shroud, and now we get to explore it and, you know, get everything that we could possibly ever want out of it. We even got a mini boss fight out of it, which is cool, because I did not know that there was a boss here, but you guys got to see that mechanic of it. If you now look at the map over here, you'll see that there's more of these wells throughout the world. And you will always get a skill point whenever you do one of these for the first time. So I didn't get anything this time because this was one of the ones that I had already cleared. But as you progress through the game, you'll eventually find ones that you haven't cleared yet. And those will give you, like, I think this one might be one of, yeah, Story of Rot. This one might be one of the things. Now, it's important to also mention that whenever it comes to this thing, the Shroud, as you can see, there's like this red thing here that almost looks like lava. That is deadly Shroud. If I even touch that with my tippy toe, boom, dead. It's over for you. You're done. Okay? So you got to be very careful because there's multiple types of Shroud. I believe that eventually I'll be able to craft something that enables me to not walk on that, but if we look into the map here, you'll see that this one has blue Shroud, and then over... Come on, show me one that's got some red. Yeah, and over here, you have some red Shroud. See, this is also deadly Shroud, so you can't even step into the mist. It's going to kill you. So you got to be careful about that. But yeah, we cleared some Shroud. I figured that for the last thing in the game, I'm going to show you a boss fight. Now, I feel like boss fights are still not all there, maybe, because they still feel a little bit rough. At least the one that I was doing the other day felt a little bit rough because there was a boss in a level 7 area. And that boss was just one-shotting me. And I was like, damn, all right. So let's go ahead and very quickly go to our home in the tower, which is here. The reason I want to do that is because I want to refresh my rested buff, which if you notice there, it's about to run out. It's at 4 minutes. You always want to have your rested buff because it just gives you more stamina, and stamina is one of the most important things when it comes to this game. As you can see, just hanging out my base, I get full rested buff. So we now have 21 minutes of rested buff, which, by the way, there's a skill in here that I think is super useful, which is this one, Well Rested. It increases the duration of the rested buff by 5 minutes. Highly recommend. Now, we can also go ahead and refresh all of our buffs, because why not? Get water, get corn, get meat. This meat, by the way, I got the meat by hunting, you know, various animals throughout the world. This is boar meat. And then you cook it in the fireplace, and that's how you get buffs. Let's go ahead and repair our weapons, too. We're at it. And now I'm going to teleport us to a different tower so that you guys get to see a boss fight that I ran into. I'm probably going to die at this boss fight. I just want you to know I'm well aware that's probably going to be a thing. So maybe I'll get to show you guys how the death mechanic works. But basically, every time you die, you might drop a couple of items that are in your character. And if you drop those items, you then have to run back to where you died in order to get them. The game is fairly lenient about you getting them. And usually, say if you jump off of a cliff, right? Jump off a cliff and you die, the game will usually place your items at the top of the cliff that you jumped from in order to prevent putting you in a situation that you can't recover your items. So for instance, a lot of times, me or a friend of mine, we would fall into that red that red shroud that is super deadly and we die. And the stuff that we had would be in the place that we had fell from in order to be able to recover it. Now, I'm not going to tell you that that's going to work 100% of the time, but so far it's been pretty consistent about allowing us to do that. So good on the devs. Now, let me see here. The place that we're going to go to is here. I'm going to set that as a waypoint. Once you set something as a waypoint, you can see it in the compass on the top of the screen, which makes it very convenient. And we're just going to go ahead and glide on down. Glider is definitely one of the first things you want to get in this game. It's so important. See, you can see the red shroud over there. So you can kind of go into the blue shroud, but you can't go into the red shroud. The game also has a really neat sense of scale because it's so massive. Like when you're on top of something, you can really see far away. When you're on ground level, it is going to be a lot more of a struggle to understand the lay of the land, just because of the sheer scale that the game has. And it's even worse when you're inside the Shroud, because Shroud, there's all this fog around you, and so you might look at this, and you're like, oh, actually, you don't want to go there. But like, you might look at, oh crap, it's all red Shroud. But anyways, the point that I was going to make is like, you might be inside the Shroud, and you might think you're looking at it from the outside, and you're like, oh, this is an easy in-out. But when you're inside it, because your visibility is so limited, sometimes it can get very disorienting and you're like, oh crap, I don't know which way to go, which is actually a neat mechanic that the developers have managed to achieve that really gives you kind of like a sense of urgency when you're inside the Shroud. And actually, as a multiplayer mechanic, I really love it because it generates these situations with me and my friends where there was just yesterday as we were playing last night, a friend of mine was in the Shroud, and we were trying to make our way over to this tower that we unlocked. We unlocked this one last night. And so my friend was going through the Shroud and was like, oh, I'm running out of time. And so I was coming in from the opposite side of the Shroud, and I was trying to guide him. Now, like, bro, it's this way. You got to come this way. But then we come to the realization that there was like a big-ass mountain in the way, and we couldn't get through. So we started, like, I started digging from one side. He starts digging from the other one. It wasn't really digging. We were, like, throwing grenades and basically trying to make our way through that mountain. And it created this situation where my friend was about to die, but because I was able to dig from my side, he dug from his side, and, you know, we were able to survive without him dying. Even though it would have been easy for me to just res him after he died, but it was more, you know, it creates these interesting dynamics, right? Anyway, I noticed earlier that there was a boss fight around here, and I figured, let's go ahead and try to do this one. I haven't tried to do this boss before, so this is going to be the first time. It's the Vuka Brawler. Oh, crap, and he's got 2 healers. I think those are healers. So I need to kill these dudes before I fight them. They're level 9. And he stomped me. Okay, doesn't seem like he's dealing that much damage. So we might be okay. Let me bandage myself up. Whoa! My man looking like Rajang over here. You want to be careful about this mud because it slows you down. Oh, I can block his stuff? Oh, this is actually an easy one. Lucky me. Actually, this one's better than the boss that I did last time. Because the boss that I did last time was just like spewing poison. Is he guarding? No, don't hurt. Don't hurt Vuka Brawler. Unfortunately, he doesn't appear to be too smart. I mean, I can even just backstab him. I'm actually attacking him like this because I don't see a stun gauge on him, but I'm wondering if he has one. Like I told you guys, my character's built as a tank, so don't expect much. Wait, there's a blessing shrine there. Maybe I can get some more damage. This is like a Vuka blessing thing, which I think increases my damage. Vukar! Yeah, this guy is actually fairly easy, it seems like. Now, I understand that you're just watching a a tank fight, so the combat feels pretty basic, but imagine also you can have an archer, right? And you go like, whoops. Damn, he got me. Right? And you can be shooting arrows. There is lock-on, but you can also turn off the lock-on so that you can go for weak spots and whatnot. I actually don't know if there's weak spots. I would imagine so. Let's heal up. You can also swap weapons dynamically if you want to. So I have this sword that has less durability but deals more damage. And there's damage types. So this one has slashing. So maybe this guy's a little bit weaker to slashing, whereas my mace actually does piercing and blunt. Ow. Oh yeah, sword is slashing him up way faster. The sword also deals 3 more damage than my mace, so... Oh, crap. See, because of my previous experience, I thought I was going to get my ass kicked, but no, we got him. He gave us a staff. This is not a very good staff, so he must have been a weak dude. That's why I was able to get him. See, now we come to one of the biggest problems of the game. Yeah. Yeah. Your inventory gets filled up like that. Not to mention I was also doing a bunch of stuff to show you guys, so I'm just going to go straight ahead and delete some of this stuff. Level 9 forest boat. Let me also grab the rest of the loot. There are materials that I actually still... Oh, come on! Ugh, fine, I'll delete the rocks. There are also materials that I still need, which is why I'm collecting all of this. Vaporous staff. That sounds interesting. Let's get rid of something else. What shall we do here? Oh, I have a shroud core? Definitely not getting rid of that. Get rid of these plants. Alright. And that was a boss fight. So, this gives you kind of an idea of what to expect from the game. I'm not sure why this is glowing blue. Probably because the boss is dead. This gives you an idea of what to expect from the game. I think the game is a ton of fun. But one of the things that I know is going to be a lot of people's questions is Rurikhan this or Palworld? And I say that I know that this is going to be the question a lot of people are going to make because that was one of the questions that I got in a lot of my streams. Would you rather play this? Would you rather play Palworld? And at the end of the day, I think they're fundamentally different games. Like, they're both in the same genre, but they're very different, right? Because a game like this, for starters, I think that the building in this is better. Just flat out. In the current state, the building of this is better. And this game has a voxel world, which allows you to dig holes and do all of these crazy things. As far as I'm aware, you can't really do that in Palworld. So that's like one of the big differences. Palworld's world is static. You can't really change the land and whatnot. You can build your bases and do all of that. Or can you do it? I actually don't know. I don't remember if it's voxel based, to be honest. I don't think it is. Anyway, this game is much more in depth when it comes to the building aspects and all of that. But also, this game is about progressing your character, right? You have a skill tree. And by the way, in this game, you can actually take your character to your friend's servers. So my friends can join this server, but they can also just take their character to another server if they want to. And everything that's on your character, on your backpack, goes with you. So you can have your own little single-player world, and then your friends can join that single-player world, or you can join your friend's single-player world and help them. The important thing to keep in mind is that the world progression is always going to be for the host. So if people join my world, they can leave with better gear, better loot, they can take crafting materials and all of that stuff with them, but their world progression is still going to be the same that it was when they left. So that's one of those things to keep in mind. The game also has dedicated servers. They provide you with a dedicated server should you want to have like a shared world that you want to host for you and your friends. But I honestly just prefer the aspect of like I can just take my character anywhere, which is not something that you can do in Palworld. But again, these are fundamentally different games. This one's more about building up your character, developing your character, whereas in Palworld, it's more about building up your pals and leveling up your pals and doing all of that stuff and collecting them and whatnot. So there are advantages and disadvantages to each of the games. Palworld also allows you to automate a lot of these tasks, like, oh, I need to go get this material. You just get a pal to get it. You just get a pal to, mine that thing infinitely forever in your base, and it's done. It's problem solved. There's a lot more quality of life when it comes to that. Whereas this one does lean into the more survival aspects. You're expected to go out and gather these materials and do all of these things. And the crafting system, I wish that they would improve on it a little bit, because, for instance, right now, this dude gives me one crafting menu. This lady gives me a different crafting menu. And then this table gives me a different production menu. And then this table gives me a different crafting menu. And this is a different crafting menu. And this dude is a different crafting menu. And it's like... it's a bit much. I wish there was a better way of doing that. And interestingly enough, they have it in the UI. See, if you go to the UI and you go to your journal and you just go to workshops, you can just be like, oh, here we go. Okay, I want to craft this, and then I go here, and now I want to craft that, and then I go here, and I want to craft that. But it's like you have to individually go to each of the people to craft it, even though there's already a much better thing here. Just let me do it here. So long as it should just be, so long as you're near the flame, you can just access this and craft whatever the crap you want. Okay? Especially after you get these blue boys, which just share stuff across the whole base. Like, just let me do it like that. Like a little bit of that. Like, I hate having to, oh, I need to go over this guy. Oh, where do I get this thing? Oh, I have to go over this guy. Where do I get that thing? This guy. It's like, it's a bit much. But fundamentally, hopefully this gave you an idea. I also have not a first impression, but like my thoughts on Palworld. For those of you that are interested, you can check out that video as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for now. If you guys enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.